Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here today, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Inkem Izamama, and I am an ER physician, emergency medicine physician, and the founder and CEO of Phoenix Capital Investment and My Expansive Life. Before we dive in today, I want you to know something. This is not going to be like any other webinars that you've attended, right? I'm really not here to sell anything fancy. And I also don't want to give you another framework that you're just going to go and forget next week, right? I want to share with you something that is very near and dear to my heart, something that really changed my life. And I'm hoping, no, actually, I'm believing that it's going to change yours too. So I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, right, I was working at a job and I was really good at the job. I was an emergency medicine physician. I was making great money. And everyone told me that I was lucky to have such stability. But every morning I woke up and I had this gnawing feeling in my stomach that whispered, this isn't it. This isn't what you're meant to do. Just maybe there is something more for you. And I had this crazy idea. And it was the vision for Phoenix Capital Investment. And subsequently, also thinking about creating my expansive life. And I couldn't shake that feeling. It kept me up at night. It just kept me it always took over my subconscious. And every time that I actually thought about doing something, fear would kick in. And the thoughts that kept like circling in my mind is, who am I to start a business? What if I fail? What if I'm not smart enough? What if everyone thinks that I'm crazy? Does that sound familiar? Have you had those thoughts when you're thinking about creating something big, something amazing? Have you had those thoughts? Well, one day, and I remember this day like it was yesterday, I looked at myself in the mirror and I made a decision, and that decision changed everything. And I decided that I was going to bet on myself. And I thought, not tomorrow, not next year, not when I felt ready, but right now. And I remember the exact spot I was sitting when I made that decision. I was sitting at an airport and I pulled out my laptop and I registered the business. And that decision, I want to tell you today that decision, that moment of courage, it led me to building Phoenix from nothing into something that now impacts thousands of lives. But I had to bet on myself and I had to make the decision. And here's something that I really want you to understand. I'm not special. I don't have a secret superpower, right? I didn't come from money or have a ton of connections. I just decided that day that I was going to stop waiting for permission and I was going to start believing in myself because no one else was going to believe in me. No one else was going to encourage me. I had to do it for myself. And today, I want to help you do that same thing. I want to help you understand kind of my thought process, how I got to make that decision, and maybe help you, like push you, nudge you to make the same thing. But before we talk about betting on yourself, right, I want to talk about the expansive circle. And I just told you that I took a leap and I created it, and I want to share it with you, right? When I first started thinking outside of my 9 to 5, I was looking for a community. And that community was of really like-minded individuals, the unicorns, those people who weren't comfortable with where they were and they wanted more. And I created the expansive circle for that group of people. And that's exactly what it is, right? The expansive circle is a private community, and it's really for high achieving professionals who just refuse to settle for surface level success. We're the people who are done checking all the boxes and we're done chasing the titles. We want deeper impact. We want to be intentional about creating wealth, and we want a life that really feels aligned with where we're going. That's what we do in the expansive circle. Inside of the circle, right, we don't just talk about growth, we actually live it. We have curated mentorship, real conversations, strategic wealth building. Those are the types of things that we talk about in the circle and that we do. We are all about mindset rewiring and then taking bold action, because it's in bold action that transformation really, really happens. So if you've ever been feeling like You were made for more. And also kind of, and it also ties into the conversation that we're having today, which is betting on yourself, but you don't know where to start or who to link arms with or how to get there. Then we are your tribe, right? We're not just about building wealth. We're really about thinking about what an expansive life looks like and how can we create that and curate that today. So take a seat. As you start thinking about how you're going to bet on yourselves, also think about joining the expansive circle. And we have a founding member opportunity. So all you have to do is kind of just click on the link, which I think our team has put up on the they've put up right now, and it's limited access. So we get monthly implementation sessions. Think about like just partnership, how to grow, how to be successful with a full resource library on exactly those things. There's always support. We're always linking arms. We're always building together. We're always growing together and thinking about an expansive community as you go chase your own dreams, your own goals, and be the unicorns in your space. So if you're interested, click on the link. The code is founder. Join. We'd love to meet you on the inside. We'd love to meet you inside of the community. Okay, so let's get back to betting on yourself. And I want to start with a question. I want to ask you something. And I really want you to think about this. How many of you are living in what I call a comfortable prison? And you might be asking, like, what does that mean? And that means that you're maybe in a job that pays the bills but doesn't light you up. You're in a relationship that is fine but not really amazing. You're living this life that really looks good on paper, but you feel a little empty on the inside. That's what that comfortable prison feels like. And we stay because it's safe and it's easy. We stay because that's what we're supposed to do. We stay in this comfortable prison because everyone thinks that we have to do it, right? They think that we have it good being in this comfortable prison because we have all these things, but we really do feel empty on the inside. But this is a truth that nobody tells you about. And I want to tell you today that playing safe is one of the riskiest moves that you will ever make. Playing safe looks easy and it looks like the thing to do because you're comfortable. But I promise you that it is such a risky move when you understand all the things that you're giving up. Because while you are playing it safe, this is what is happening. Time is passing. Opportunities are passing as well. Life is passing you by. But it feels safe and it feels easy and it feels comfortable. And the scariest part of it is that one day you're going to be 70, I'm going to be 70, and we're going to look back. And the question that we will ask ourselves is, what if I never tried? The question that we will not ask ourselves is, what if I failed? Because you wouldn't be as afraid of failing when you're 70. You will be so upset that you didn't try and you didn't reach your goals. And I want that to kind of sink in for a second, right? And I'll tell you, when I started building Phoenix, people thought that I was out of my mind, right? They said, Nkem, you have a wonderful job. They said, why would you risk it all for some crazy idea that might not work? But this is the thing that I'm so grateful for, is that the thing that I realized that what was really crazy at that time was the idea that I could be spending the rest of my life wondering what if. And if you're sitting here thinking, I want to do that thing, I want to start that thing, I want to build, I want to leap, whatever it is, right? I want to take that course, I want to go back to school, whatever it is, that crazy idea. It might not seem as crazy when you're 70 and when you're looking back and saying, man, I wish I had, what if I did that? Because that's the question you're going to be asking yourself. And here's something that I learned the hard way, is that we are so addicted to permission. We're waiting for our boss to notice us. We're waiting for the right time. We're waiting for more money. We're waiting for more experience. We're waiting for someone else to believe in our dream first before we believe in it. We're waiting for that. We're waiting for permission. But the hard truth, the really brutal truth that you need to hear is that no one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your BFF, not your spouse, right? None of those people are coming to save you. Your boss is not going to walk up to you or walk into the office tomorrow and tell you, you know what, you deserve that promotion or that raise or that recognition. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to cheer you. The universe is not going to send you this sign that says, now is the perfect time to start the business. Now is the perfect time to do the thing that you're supposed to. And your bank account is not going to magically fill up so that you take that leap, so that you feel more ready, more comfortable. None of that is going to happen. And you know what? I think that's actually the best news that you'll ever hear today. Because when I realized that no one was coming to save me, I also realized something that was even more powerful. And I want you to hear this, is that I could save myself, and you can also save yourself. Nobody told me that, but when I realized no one really was coming for me, then I had to look out for myself, and I had to make that decision. You have to make that decision today. No, and understand that no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. When I started building Phoenix, and when I also built my expansive life, I didn't have permission from anyone. You guys, I didn't even have a business plan. I didn't have investors. I didn't have a community. And I didn't even know that it was going to work, right? But I had something that was even more powerful. And it was that I made a decision. I decided that no matter what, I was going to bet against myself. I was going to bet on myself. And I gave myself permission that no matter what, even if I failed, I gave myself permission to fail. I gave myself permission to succeed, to become what I was meant to. But I gave myself permission. I didn't wait for any single person. I didn't wait for anyone else to give it to me. And that decision, I'm telling you, it changed everything. Because the only person that I needed permission from was myself. And the only person that you need permission from is yourself. I want to tell you the exact moment that I bet on myself, because I want you to kind of see me as an example and realize that, again, I told you I wasn't special, and that if I can do it, so can you. I told you I was sitting in an airport that day, and I had come from a conference, and it was the middle of the day. It was around 1 p.m. and the airport wasn't all that busy, right? And so I checked in. I checked in my luggage, and I looked around, and there was this water fountain. This airport was very airy, tons of windows, and there was not a lot of hustle and bustle in the airport. And there was this fountain, right? And there was like the water in the middle, and there was like almost like a pillar around it, right? And they had some flowers. It was a nice, serene place to sit. And after I checked in, I sat there and I pulled out my laptop. And even though I was afraid, right, I called up my lawyer and I gave him all the information, and I said, let's create the business. At that point, right, it was randomly in an airport. Of course, I'd been thinking about it, but that was the day I decided to make the decision. That day, what I can tell you is that I did not have all the answers. I was uncertain, right? But if I didn't do it, I would have always wondered, what if, right? And so that day, I bet on myself. I took action. I made a decision. And I'll tell you, right, the journey since then, the journey has been hard. It's been filled with uncertainty. It's been filled with fear and doubt. But along the way, there has been amazing things that have come out of it, right? There's been a lot of growth. There's been success. And every day, I'm so grateful that I made the decision that day to bet on myself and to build something that has turned out to be really amazing. Like, I get to impact lives, and I get to have conversations with professionals on exactly how their life aligns with the decisions that they make financially. And I think it's amazing. But right before I was betting on myself, everyone around me thought that I was crazy, even for considering taking that leap. I heard that you're throwing all your security away. Those truly are the words that I heard. I heard stuff like, you're good at what you do. Why are you even thinking about switching lanes? But I will never forget that night, the night before I made that decision. I was laying in bed, I was staring at the ceiling, and I realized something. I was more afraid of staying the same than I was of failing, right? I was so afraid that I didn't want to be this same person, that even if I failed, I would have been okay with making that decision today. That fear in the beginning, when I told you that fear in my stomach, it wasn't telling me to stop. It was telling me that I was onto something. I was about to do something that mattered. And so if you're sitting here thinking, or you're feeling something and you don't know you don't know the outcome, but you just know there's something that you're supposed to do it. And I took that leap and I started building Phoenix with nothing but this belief and determination that I was going to make something of it, right? It was that same gusto that also helped me build my expansive life. Not because I was sure that I was going to succeed, right? Because everyone wants that. Everyone wants success. But because I knew that I had something of value that I wanted to share with the world, and not doing that, I think was the bigger failure. That's the reason why sometimes we have to bet on ourselves when we have to take the leap, because of the people that are going to be impacted by that one single tiny decision that we make. Was it scary? Absolutely. Did I know what I was doing every step of the way? Not even close. Did I want to quit 100 times in the beginning when I didn't know, when I didn't have a single investor, when I was doing everything myself? You bet I wanted to quit. But this is something that I discovered and I want to share with you, right? When you bet on yourself, it seems like everything and everyone starts betting on you too. And that is such a wonderful feeling. Doors will start opening that you didn't even know existed. People will show up to help you that you didn't even know where they came from. Opportunities will start appearing out of nowhere because you decided that that was the day that you were going to bet on yourself and you were going to be taking consistent daily action every day. Again, it's not because you or I are special, but it's because we are committed to the cause, to that decision. We're committed to making that change. We're committed to starting something, whatever it is. And that's what I want you to understand, right? Because when you start waiting, when you stop waiting and you start doing, that's when the change happens. What does that look like for you? Okay, so I want to share with you 3 truths that you need to know and you need to learn as you start thinking about betting on yourself. And these are truths that nobody told me, but that we all need to hear and understand. And truth number 1 is that you are already qualified. It might not seem that way. Yes, I know your brain is probably telling you, and your brain's probably like telling you, screaming at you right now, saying like, I'm not qualified. I don't have the experience. I don't have the degree. I don't have the connections. Whatever it is your brain is telling you, I want you to listen to me, right? Your life experiences are the qualification that you need. It's hard for me to convince you about that right now, but I promise you that when you start, those life experiences will take you to the next step. And then you will get the education and the growth and the connections that you need that will continue to take you the next step, the next step, the next step after that. And I want you to kind of understand that every struggle that you've been through, right, that is your qualification. Every problem that you've solved, that is also your qualification, right? Every time that you've gotten up after you've fallen, that also is a qualification of yours. And that's something that you have to understand. These are all data points, right? For you to make that leap, for you to start, for you to do the thing that you wanted to do. And I'll tell you, right, when I started Phoenix, I didn't have a business degree. I didn't even have any startup experience. I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have wealthy parents. But I had something that no one else had. And it was my exact combination of experiences, of struggles, of perspectives that helped me start, right? I had the same shared experiences as a lot of professionals who ended up investing with me today, who ended up joining the expansive circle, because we all had the same fire of wanting more from our lives. And they were just waiting for me to fan that flame in their situation and their circumstance. What does that look like for you in your circumstance and your circle, right? So imagine if I had said no and I didn't start. Imagine all those people that were waiting on me. Think about that for you, right? If you have something in you and that today's the day that you need to bet on yourself, right? Think about all the people that are waiting for you to start that thing, to make that decision, or to take that course, to go back to school so that you can do those things. My question for you today is, what is stopping you? You might think that the thing that disqualifies you, that actually might be your superpower. So that's something that we have to think about, and we have to understand that our struggles are not our weaknesses, right? Our struggles are actually our strength, because someone else can glean from that. The different backgrounds, they aren't a disadvantage, right? You should think about them as your edge, right? That slight edge that makes you different from someone else. Whatever your unconventional path is to get you to where you are, or to get you to build the thing that you need to build, that you want to build, it's proof that you can figure things out. And the world doesn't need another like carbon copy of everyone else, right? They need you. They need your specific, your unique connection, experience, perspective, like the way you think, the way you build, the way you move in life. They need that, right? And that's what someone else is waiting for. And I think that you're sometimes like you're not missing those qualifications. Like you are that thing. And the truth is, some of us need to hear that today, that you are already qualified just based on where you are. And as soon as you start building on that. So truth number 2 that I want to tell you is that starting scared is starting smart. If you are not afraid, right, then you're not thinking big enough. I want you to know that. And I am a testament of starting afraid. I was terrified. I thought to myself, what did a doctor know about investing? It felt like I was an imposter, right? But fear, I want to tell you this, right? Fear is not the enemy. You should think about fear as like the compass, because it's going to point you towards what matters the most, that thing that you're so afraid of, right? And I'll tell you again, I want to use kind of shared experiences to help you understand, because when I started building Phoenix, I was terrified every single day. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, wondering, what the heck did I get into? I'd be sitting in my office thinking, maybe I should just go back to work. But then I realized something, right? I realized that there are 2 kinds of fears. There's that stupid, silly fear, the fear that when you're walking down, or the fear of like thinking about walking down a dark alley alone at midnight, right? That's the fear that you should be afraid, because that fear will keep you alive. Like you shouldn't do it because you don't know what's in that dark alley. And then there's the smart fear, right? It's the fear that you feel when you're about to do something that is going to change your life. That fear means that you're growing, right? That fear means that you're about to embark on something that is life altering. You're about to take a step in that right direction. That fear is real, but that fear is a smart fear. It's a good fear. My first speaking engagement, I was terrified. Number one, I was wondering why they even allowed me speak on stage, right? But this is the thing, right? I had cut open patients to save them, but I couldn't stand on stage. Like I was like literally saving lives in the emergency room, but I was so afraid of standing on stage. I remember that first speaking engagement. I went to the bathroom and like my hands were shaking. I was sweating. I had forgotten all my lines. And I thought for a second, should I run away? Like if I left and come up with some excuse, maybe they'll believe me. But I felt the fear and I did it anyways. And I'll tell you, it wasn't perfect. Actually, it kind of sucked, but it got easier every single day. And I was able to share my experience, and I was able to help people grow, to help people invest, to help people leap, and I was able to change their lives. But that's because like I felt the fear and I did it anyways. And that smart fear helped me grow. Speaking on stage got easier, able to share my story, to help people understand how I got here today. And I'll tell you that this is the one thing that I've learned, is that courage is not the absence of fear, right? Courage is feeling the fear and then doing it anyways. And I think you're better for it, because every successful person that you admire, I will tell you this, they all started afraid. But the difference is that they did not let that fear stop them, right? They used that fear as fuel to bet on themselves, to take the next step, to take the leap. Those people, they said, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyways. It doesn't matter. I'm better for it. That's what you have to start thinking about. Like if you're afraid and you do it, think I'm better for it. And that's not reckless, right? That actually is bravery. That's what bravery looks like. And that's exactly what you need to do today. There are so many people, as you're sitting here listening, whether you're listening to the recording, right? There are so many people who stopped and who didn't take action. And I just want you today, like I want to encourage you that I don't want that to be your story. Your story could be different. And sometimes when I talk about like starting afraid, right? It doesn't it doesn't mean that you're going to scale Mount Everest tomorrow, right? It just means maybe making one decision. And for me, that decision that day was sitting at that airport and creating that business. It felt small, right? It was just one decision, one phone call, and a few signatures, but it was big. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be humongous, right? It could be just one small decision that you make tonight, tomorrow. Think about it. And the truth number three is this is very hard for some of our perfectionists who are listening to this, is that you don't have to have a perfect plan. I always tell my team, done is better than perfect, right? And this might be the most important thing that I tell you today, because we have been conditioned to believe that we need to have everything figured out before we start, right? We need the perfect business plan. We need the perfect strategy. We need the perfect timing, the perfect people, the perfect partner, the perfect team. But that's not how real life works, right? When I started Phoenix and even subsequently building my expansive life, I didn't have the perfect plan. I had a vision. I had a vision. I had a mission, and I had a willingness to figure out as I went. That's all I had in the beginning. When I first started, right, I was the whole team and I was marketing and I was my own assistant and I did all the things myself. I did all the acquisitions. I talked to brokers. I also talked to investors. I was also my own social media person. I was posting, but I started, right? I didn't have all the people that I needed. I didn't have the perfect business plan, but I knew that I had to start. And surely, right, I started building that team. I started building but it started with making that decision. It started with me just by myself and then growing from there. I didn't start out like the way that I wanted to and how perfect it should be, but I grew from there, right? And that's what you have to think about. Again, and I keep saying it, you just have to start. The rest will work itself out. When you decide every day you're going to be consistent, you're going to show up, right? The right people will come, the right timing, the right strategy, the right business plan will start forming because you'll build it, but you will be consistent. Every step you take, it will reveal the next step. Every door that opens will show you what the next door is supposed to be. And you wouldn't even know that had existed yet, but you can't think about step 10 when you're just trying to get through step 1, right? And even step 2. I'll tell you this, I couldn't have planned out all that happened because I didn't even know enough to plan it out yet. That's the thing. You don't know, but you're building on what you know and you're using that to take action. And all I knew was some, and I used that to take action and I based the rest of my decisions on that. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about betting on yourself, right? You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see one step, and then you need to take that step. And then you need to keep going. And before you know it, you'll see the 1,000 staircase or whatever that ladder looks like. The clarity that you're looking for, right? It doesn't come from thinking and it doesn't come from from analysis, right? It comes from taking action. So I will say this, take action, learn, iterate, do it better, keep going, take action again. That's what that process should look like. And you're going to figure it out by taking a step. But you're not going to figure it out by just standing and trying to map out this whole big dream and this whole big vision and try to figure out every obstacle along the way. You just need to start and then start building from there. The plan will continue to reveal itself, but it will only do that for those who take the next step, who take the next action, who keep moving. So I want to say this to you, right? As you're thinking about it, you don't need to have the perfect plan. You just have to stop waiting, and you have to make a decision. You have to move. You just have to start with the next step, and the rest will sort itself out. I know it's maybe for some of us who have to have the perfect plan, it's hard to believe, but I want to tell you, trust me. You take that first step and then you're going to grow from there. So now I've told you kind of all the truths that I wish someone had told me as I built and grew. But I want to now be even more honest with you and tell you what actually betting on yourself looks like. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that it's all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies and it looks pretty, because I think that would be a disservice to you and everyone else who's actually done it, because this is the ugly truth, right? it is going to be very lonely in the beginning. Most people will not understand what you're doing. Most people will think you're crazy. And some people who think they love you, they will try to talk you out of it. You're going to question yourself every single day. You're going to question yourself even every single hour. Every single decision you're going to make, you're going to question yourself. You're going to say, should I? Should I not? What if? What if not? And those are all the things that are going to run through your head. There'll be days when you will want to quit and think, should I have gone back to the thing that I knew was secure and safe, back to that comfortable prison? Because at least that prison was predictable. These are thoughts that you're going to have, and they're real thoughts. And I also want to tell you that you will face rejection. That's just simple. That's just like the truth. You'll face failure. And you'll face moments when you feel like the world is against you and you're like, what did I sign up for? What did I do? I'll share with you, right? When I first started the Expansive Circle community, I thought it was the most amazing idea, right? I was like, let's come together, let's dream, let's take action. Like, this makes sense. It's a no-brainer. And I thought that everyone would want to join, but that wasn't the case. And it didn't mean that I was a failure or that what I was doing was a failure. It just meant that maybe I needed to help them understand it a bit better. And maybe it just meant that I wasn't adequately sharing the value and the benefit of the community. And so it just meant that I needed to maybe go back to the drawing board just a little bit, right? But that's the truth. You're going to start and you might fail. You're going to start and you might face rejection. But I will tell you that, like, the beautiful thing that makes it all worth it is that you'll never wonder what if, because you did it, because you took the chance and you leapt. You'll never wonder what if this happened, because you did it, right? You'll never live with that regret of not trying. Why? Because you tried, because you did it. And you will inspire other people without realizing it, because they'll realize that if you can do it, that they can do it too. And you don't know what that one step, you never know who's watching you. You don't know how you're showing up in the world. So just think about that. And another thing is that you will become unshakable. Maybe not day one, but because you'll realize that you can handle whatever life throws at you, because you bet on yourself and you're like, forget them, right? I can do this. I did it. Again, it doesn't look beautiful or perfect, and it could be a messy beginning, but you did it. And I think most importantly, you feel really alive because you bet on yourself, you made a decision. And that I will tell you that that feels amazing to even know that that's possible. And I'll tell you this, it's because nothing, and I mean nothing, there's no feeling like betting on yourself and winning and succeeding. It is truly one of the most amazing feelings that you ever experience. And I want you to experience it, right? You thought about something, you took a step, you pivoted, you learned, you took action, and something amazing came from it. And if nothing came from it, you still grew. You're a better version of yourself for doing that. That's what that feels like. So I want you to kind of understand what transformation looks like. And I'm standing here today because of that decision I made in a moment of courage. I was a tired emergency medicine physician without a clear vision or path. And I was just working, and I just didn't know my left from my right. But now, right, I'm helping shape the financial future of a lot of professionals. It's humbling, it's amazing, and I'm so grateful for it. But it was because I bet on myself. It was because I made that decision. And I will tell you, right, the real victory isn't the business success. That's a win of its own. But the real victory is who I became in the process. I became someone who didn't wait for permission. I became someone who started to trust her own instincts, right? I became someone who knows that, like, I can figure it out, right? I might not have all the answers, but I can start piecing things together because I bet on myself. And so imagine if this is your story or something similar. What would it look like? What would it feel like? who would you need to be in order to walk your path? What would that look like for you? That is what betting on yourself feels like. And it gives you this unshakable confidence in your ability to figure things out, right? You can make decisions. And I'll tell you that that confidence, it changes everything because you're no longer afraid. You always see that in every decision you make, right? There's good that comes from it. You'll grow. And it will not only affect you in business, right? It'll even start affecting your relationships in a positive way, in how you show up in the world. It'll change your perspective, maybe even in how you raise your kids and how you face challenges, right? You'll start to understand that you have the tools that you need, you have the confidence, and no matter what, you'll learn from it. You'll become so unstoppable because you did the hardest thing, which was you believed in yourself when nobody else thought it was possible, right? It didn't look pretty and perfect, but you did it. And because you made that decision, right? Because you believed in yourself and you bet on yourself, all other decisions will seem not as difficult. They'll almost seem very easy. And that's what it looks like to be where you are today when you decide to bet on yourself yesterday. So right now, right, you might be at a crossroad and you're thinking, what does this look like? And I told you we would kind of be a little shorter today because my goal today was I just wanted to help you think and understand and show you what it looks like, that it is possible, right? So right now you can sit, and as we come to a close, you can close the browser, you can close this webinar and go back to your comfort. Go back to that comfortable prison that we talked about. You can keep waiting for that permission that is never coming from your boss, from your spouse, from your best friend, from your family. You can keep playing it small and wondering what if, right? Those are all decisions that you can make today. Or, this is my favorite part, right? Or you can decide that this is your moment. This is the moment that you stop waiting and you start doing. This is the moment that you stop shrinking and you start expanding because you don't care. This is the moment that you're like, I'm going to bet on myself. Because the cost of waiting another year is just, it's not even a thing. The cost of waiting even another day is large. It's very, very costly. But it's not just costly in opportunities, but it's in who you are becoming. It's very costly. And so you don't want to bear that cost anymore. If you haven't heard this before, hear from me. The world needs what you have to offer. The world needs that your unique combination of gifts and experiences and perspectives. And you don't know that yet, but I for sure want to tell you that. And the world, no one else is going to accept that gift because it's locked up inside of you, right? So think about how you can start to express that. The version of your phoenix is waiting for you. Think about it like your big idea, your big dream, your big calling. It's all there and it's just waiting for you to say yes. And the one question I will ask you again is, will you decide to bet on yourself? Will you decide that this is your moment? This is your time to shine? And here's the thing, right? I didn't build Phoenix alone. And you don't have to build your dream alone either, right? I've created a community of people just like you. As you're thinking there and you're sitting and you're itching and you're like, oh, this is me. We created that. People who are ready to stop talking about it and to start doing. People who are so ready to bet on themselves, right? And this isn't just another online group, right? As we grow it, this is a movement of people who believe that ordinary people like you and I can do extraordinary things. Like that feeling is amazing, right? We don't wear capes, right? We're just normal people, you and I, ready to start building and start making a difference. This is where in our community, right, dreamers become builders. And that fear that you have, we're going to turn it into fuel. And so that someday becomes today, right? Because you're going to make a decision and you're going to do it today. In the community, we support each other. We celebrate each other's wins. And if you're not sure, right, we lean on each other and we get back when we fall down. That's what that looks like. And this is what I've learned along the way, right? When you surround yourself with people who believe in possibility, then that possibility becomes inevitable. But you have to surround yourself with people who are not afraid of your wildest dreams, right? Like your dreams don't scare them and their dreams don't scare you. So if you are ready to bet on yourself, we want to bet on you too. And the Expansive Circle honestly was built for that reason, to help you become what you're meant to be and to build on what you're meant to build. It's that simple. Again, right? The question I asked you 5 minutes ago is, are you in? The question I'm going to ask you now is, are you ready to join us? Because we are so ready to welcome you. Again, the link should be put up if it's something that you're interested in. Click on the link, join. It's very simple. And know that we might be waiting for you to kind of help us take this to the next level, to to be that catalyst, right? Just think about it. Remember, what is that thing that you're waiting on, that you are ready to do, that you're ready to bet on yourself? And it could be this. So real quickly before we end, I want to give you a challenge. And I told you I wasn't going to give you some fancy framework or convince you to do anything. But I want to ask this of you. In the next 24 hours, so not next week, not next month, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but in the next 24 hours, I want you to do one thing to bet on yourself. It doesn't have to be humongous. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Maybe it's researching that business idea that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's having this really, really hard conversation that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's signing up for that course or buying that domain name, or like signing up for that business. Or maybe it's just writing down your dream and admitting to yourself that my dream matters, right? I want to do this. I want to accomplish that. Whatever it is, I challenge you to do it in the next 24 hours. Because here's the truth. The version of yourself 1 year from now is watching this moment, this specific moment. They're waiting to see what you're going to choose. They're waiting to see how you're going to decide. They're waiting to see how you're going to move. Will you choose comfort or will you choose courage? Will you choose safety or will you choose possibility? Even if you don't know what that looks like. Are you going to choose to stay the same, or are you going to become what you know you've always meant to be? Don't leave tonight, or don't leave this webinar the same person who joined it. What about what we discussed tonight will be different that you take with you? Because your future self is counting on what you decide right now, what you do. And my question for you is, what is it going to be? What is that one decision you're going to do in the next 24 hours? Tomorrow's Friday. You have tonight till tomorrow night. Don't wait for the weekend. Make that decision. Do it. It might be small, right? But whatever it is, I promise you that version of yourself 1 year from now is looking and cheering you on and saying, let's go. So I could be sitting here today and give you 100 reasons why you should bet on yourself. But at the end of the day, you already know what you need to do, right? You've always known, actually, even before you came in tonight, right? You already knew. And so the question isn't whether you're capable, because you are capable. And the question isn't whether you're qualified, because you know that you are qualified. And the question isn't whether it's possible, because you know that it is possible. The only question is, will you do it, right? Will you finally give yourself permission to try and fail, but still try, right? Try and succeed, but still try. Will you finally trust yourself to take that leap? Will you finally trust yourself to bet on yourself, whatever that looks like? Because I'm telling you right now, you are worth betting on. Even if you don't know what tomorrow looks like, right? You're worth betting on yourself, because only you knows what you're truly, truly capable of. Your dreams are worth betting on, because someone is waiting for you. Your vision, especially if it's a big vision that has been put on your heart, right? it's worth betting on. Your future is worth betting on, whatever that looks like for you. And it might just be even like growing in the position that you're in right now and betting on yourself and saying, I'm going to go all in on that thing. That could be what betting on yourself looks like. I'll leave you with this, right? And it's what we started with, is that the best investment that you will ever make is in yourself. So all I'm asking is that you make it today, is that you do it and you don't wait. You don't wait for next January for the New Year's resolution to take action. You don't wait. You don't wait for Monday morning. That you make this decision that you're going to do it today and you're going to take action. When? Today. The one thing I want to leave you with is that the best investment you will ever make, no matter what, is betting on yourself. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening and for that feeling at the pit of your stomach. Thank you for acknowledging that it is real. So I want us to go and change the world, because we are all capable of doing it. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop here. And if you have any questions on what this looks like real time, I'd love to answer it. If you have any objections about also, like, if you think this is not possible, this is all fluffy, toss it in the chat, toss it in the comments. And if you have real fears of what this looks like, I'd love to hear it. And maybe we can talk through it together, tackle it together, and hopefully get some real life examples of what this could look like. So I'd love to pause and ask questions. Okay. How do you deal with people close to you not understanding and supporting the decisions you make when you choose to bet on yourself? This will happen. So this is something that will happen real life. And I can speak from example, right? You are going to slowly have to let go of those people. You have to trust in who you are, trust in the decisions that you want to make, trust in betting on yourself, and slowly release yourselves from those people and form new circles, form new partnerships, form new groups that believe in your vision or that know where you're going, i.e. the expansive circle, right? Link arms with people who fully understand that, like, the best version of yourself is waiting on you betting on yourself. So it's going to be painful. Nothing about this is fun. I told you, I didn't even see this question, but I said that it's going to be lonely. And in the beginning, it might be because you are not, because you're not allowing the outside noises to cloud your judgment. Any other questions? Let me see if I can get to the questions. Okay, great. It's back up. How do you balance betting on yourself while still honoring your current responsibility, like a job, family, financial commitments? Another good question. There has to be some balance. And I think maybe sometimes we talk about balance and it might be an illusion, but you have to kind of know that, like job, family, responsibility, those things are real, right? But you have to carve out the time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but if you notice, some people use their times so much better than others, right? So if you did a time audit on what your time looks like, I bet you will find areas where you might not be using it as well. And those are times you could focus on building, focus on studying, focus on whatever it is, going back to school, focus on being the best at the job that you're doing right now, whatever that looks like, right? But you have to realize that there is a season of building, and maybe this is that season. And also, like, this is conversations that you have with friends, that you have with family, and you say, hey, these are some of the things that I'm going ham on, that I'm just going to go in on. And I might not have all the time to do all these other things that I used to do before. So I think it's, number one, being honest with yourself. Number two, is having real hard conversations. And number three, it's realizing that this is so important to you that, like, you have to do this by any means necessary. And I think when you have that mindset and you understand, you'll create the time. And the financial commitments, I'll talk real quickly about. You can keep the question on right now, and I'll go back to the financial commitments. It doesn't always have to be grand, right? It doesn't have to be like day one, you're just maybe making a small decision and you're growing from there, right? Sometimes we use finance as an example, as a reason for us to shy away from our dreams and our goals. And I also think that, I'll tell you this. I'll give you an example, right? Um, I wanted to, when I was in college, right? It was fourth year of college, and I was applying for medical school. And I wanted to go to the school that I ended up going to, but I got a scholarship to stay in state. And so what I did, and I'm telling you the story so that you understand that there's nothing wrong with asking for what you want. And that might be asking someone to invest in your vision, your goal, right? And so I called the school, the medical school that I really wanted to go to, and I said, I said, these are all the other schools I've gotten into, but I really, really want to go to your school. And I said, but it's out of state. And I was like, it's very expensive. And I said I could stay in state and be okay, but I was like, I really want to come here. I kid you not, within 24 hours, I got a call, and they had created like a few scholarships. I still had to pay a significant amount, but they had opened a few more spots that it made, then comparing the out of state school to that in state school. And it made it like almost apples to apples, where I took money out of the equation. So I'm telling you that, right? Just to say, sometimes it's worth knowing what you want, right? And like knowing it without a shadow of a doubt, but then also helping others see that vision who might be able to support you financially. So there's nothing wrong with sharing your goals, sharing your vision, sharing your ideas with people who might want to support you, who might want to cheer you on, like who might want to encourage you, but also financially. So it's something to think about. You spoke about betting on yourself. What's the mindset shift you believe most people need to make before they truly do it? I think it's fear. I have come to learn that fear will stop you in your tracks, right? Um, Fear will allow you to realize that where you are is fine. And I think that if you just come to understand that you can, like, whatever that fear is, fear of failure, fear of not succeeding, fear of like hurting someone's feeling, whatever the fear is, right? If you understand that it's just small and it's something that you can squash, and you also understand that like you don't have to completely like figure it out, right? When you understand that, I think then it allows you to take that step. And when you also know that it can be a messy start, but as long as you start, I think that's the biggest thing that I want people to take away. That is just, when you understand that fear is so crippling, but you don't have to hold on to that. You can feel it and still do it anyways. I think that's the biggest mindset shift that I want people to understand. And it does not have to be perfect in the beginning. You just take a step. There is a beauty that comes from believing in yourself, from doing something small and winning. When you get a small victory, right, it almost is like momentum. It propels you to make the next step. You're going to be afraid, but you're still going to do it. And you're going to be chipping at that fear every single day to get you going. That's what I would say. How do you differentiate a bold move and a reckless one when you're betting on yourself? Ooh, okay. Um, hmm. You might not know. I don't have a perfect answer for this one. I'll say this, right? If it's something that's in your heart, and if it's something that you've thought about and you've dreamt about, and if it's something that you feel that you're going to change lives, you're going to impact lives, if it's something that you're going to grow, right, then I don't know if there it really is a difference between a bold and a reckless one. Now, if you're making a terrible decision, like, that, so that's not what I'm talking about. But if you are thinking about those decisions that you just don't know, right, I would say do it. I would say try. I have learned so much from failing, um, even more than I've learned from success. That it's okay if I made a decision that it didn't go well. I promise you, if you pause for a second, there's so much that you can learn from it, and that will help you grow and do it better. So I'm not really sure. Like I said, if it's like a terrible decision, then it's a terrible decision. But if it's a decision that you feel deep in your heart and you're just not sure, I would say test it. I would say try it. And again, sometimes we in our minds, we think that the decision has to be massive and it has to be big. But again, it might just be one small decision. And for you, that one small decision might be a really bold decision. How did you raise initial capital, or did you tap into personal savings? Oh, great question. Um, so I had I had been building a little bit. So I'd been putting money aside because I wanted to, and I actually didn't know why I was putting money aside, but I was saving a little bit. So I was I did not fall into the lifestyle creep. So of like the more you made, the fancier life got. I didn't. I just put money aside. And so when I decided to start building, right, again, I wasn't afraid to bet on myself. And so that meant that some of that I had been saving, I tapped into it, and I used that. Also in the beginning, right? Someone asked about finances, and I said that what I said is because I wasn't afraid. I like pitched to close friends, so like close community. I pitched to them and I said, hey, is this something that you could be interested in? Would you be willing to go in? Let's go in together and let's do this, right? And the response was great. But the response was great because they had seen me taking steps, right? They had seen me making decision and going from, like making the first decision and doing that. And they had seen the consistency. And so when it was time for someone else to bet on me, right? After I had bet on myself, it was an easier decision. So for me, it was a little bit of both. I love all these questions. You're great. How do you keep believing in yourself in seasons when results are slow and external validation is missing? Oh, this one's really hard. So when you realize that your dream is big, right? When you realize that like you really are meant to impact the world, you will have low seasons. You will have seasons where things are not working out the way they're supposed to be, or you're not sure, right? You don't have that certainty that we're looking for, because in life we want certainty. But you have to keep believing in yourself. And I think one of the best things that I did was to surround yourself with people who will continue to cheer you on when you cannot do it for yourself, right? The people who will keep you accountable and say, hey, you were supposed to build that course in like 2 quarters ago. What happened to that? Why didn't you do that? Like, you have to have the people who will ask you the hard questions, who will encourage you. Again, I said it before and I'll say it again. You have to have those people who, like, when they tell you about their wild and crazy dreams, that you're like, oh yes, we're gonna do it. And when you tell them about yours, right, that they support you, they cheer you, and they don't think it's impossible. So I would say, but you have to do the work, right? And for who asked this question, in the beginning, right, you have to spend time and you have to grow and you have to develop yourself personally, so that in seasons like this, when you don't have the external validation, or maybe when you don't even have the people, that you have to build such a solid foundation, right? So in the beginning, when you start thinking about, maybe it's entrepreneurship or going back to school, or building a business or whatever it is, right, you have to spend some time and lay a foundation. And that foundation is working on yourself. And that means growing. And that could look like reading books. That could look like maybe listening to podcasts. That could look like, like going on YouTube University and learning something. But you have to, first of all, have that solid foundation on the inside, so that you can bet on yourself, so that whatever life throws your way, right, you are able to do it. I think that's what that looks like. But you will have seasons. Let me just tell you, right? I told you those ugly truths, that it's going to be hard. There will be seasons where you will do this alone. In my office, right, there have been days where I have just cried my eyes out, and I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? And in the beginning, right? But I had the foundation and I pushed through, because I was like, that is only just like a temporary. What I'm building is bigger than that, right? The lives I'm going to touch. And when you think about, even if you've succeeded small, right, hold on to those tiny victories, because then you'll remember and you're like, okay, I did this and I succeeded. This is what that looked like. Like, I can do more. And don't forget, to what has really helped me as well is journaling. I've when I'm in seasons where like the seasons of drought, right? I take inventory on what I've done. I look back and I pull up journals of like days where it was really good, where it succeeded, where I, changed lives, where I got whatever investors or how many people joined the community, where we grew together, where I saw change, right? I make sure to write that down. I live in like, I don't do it well, but like I try to live in constant gratitude of all the things that I have, all the blessings, all the successes, so that in seasons of drought, right, you have that almost like an armor to go back to, and like a pile of all the goodness that you can reach into and remind yourself, this is why I'm doing this. Again, it goes back to laying that foundation. What are quiet everyday ways someone can bet on themselves, especially when they don't feel ready for a big leap? Oof. Okay, so I think this one is very specific. So I think this one's very specific, and I think it's specific to your to like your situation and whatever it is that you want to do or you want to grow, right? So I gave you examples. It could be starting the course. It could be, it could even be like turning on the camera, right, and posting something on social media that encourages someone else. It could be like starting like a just like a simple business plan, right? Very simple, like a rough sketch. It could be that. It doesn't, again, right, it doesn't have to be like you're not doing the thing tomorrow. It could even be like getting the domain name, right? Like whatever that name is, it could be something so small that could be so victorious for you. But I'm just kind of thinking about like general things that I think would maybe apply to a lot of people. But I think for most people, it really pertains. I think it's so individual to whatever your circumstances, whatever the thing is that you're betting on. What helped you push past fear the first time you truly had to bet on yourself? And you experience fear now every single day, even till today, every decision. Okay, maybe not every decision. Some decisions are easier, but I'm still afraid, right? I'm still like, what if? But for me, what helps me is actually the fear of not doing. I will tell you that is 100% a bigger fear for me, not doing, not taking the leap, than like the fear of doing it. And I promise you, when you start growing and when you feel like you're making a difference, right, the bigger fear is not doing it. The bigger fear is not having this webinar, right? The bigger fear is not showing up. I think that's the bigger fear, because then you realize that you're not only doing it for yourself now, right? You're doing it for your community. You're doing it for your people. You're doing it for the little girl who's looking up to you and thinking, man, I can do this too, right? Those are the people that you're now doing it for. So when you realize that it is bigger than yourself, and I think that's the fear, that I think that's the that's the impetus that's going to push you to make that decision to do it. It's the fear of the things that you don't get to accomplish, the things you don't get to do, the people's lives that you don't get to touch. I think that's the bigger fear. And so even though I'm afraid today, right, even if I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to do, right, that fear is bigger. And so I do it not perfectly. I do it afraid, but I still do it, because if I get to touch one life, if I get to make a difference to one person, right, then I think that's a win. And that's how you have to be thinking about it, is betting on yourself is almost like betting on others too, because they're waiting for you. Oh, great. Questions are done. Okay, so I'll give it a second. If anybody has questions, toss it in the chat. But I want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined. I hope that this was beneficial. I really, really mean this when I say in the next 24 hours, do something that you do something in a way that you bet on yourself, whatever that is. It might be make that phone call. It might be have that conversation with someone. It might be journal. It might be write your big dreams on paper. It might be get that domain name. It might be start that business. It might be register for that class. It might be paint that picture. Whatever it is, just do it. In the next 24 hours, make the decision and do it. Tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. I love, like, if you see me on anywhere, on any platform, tag me, join the circle. We're excited to have you. And on that note, I want to say thank you. I kept you over, but I want to say thank you for sticking with me, and everyone have a wonderful night.